Ladies and gentlemen, before you can unlock anything in your life, you must first discover what's inside of you. You can't release what you haven't yet recognized. The problem isn't that you lack potential. It's that you don't fully know the original intent behind your existence. See, every product has a purpose placed in it by its manufacturer. It's not the job of the product to decide why it exists. The purpose is programmed into the design. In the same way, your potential is not something you invent. It is something you uncover. Too many people are walking through life trying to fit into roles they were never designed for. They take on labels that were placed on them by others, labels like average, unqualified, or too late. But let me tell you, you were never meant to be anyone's backup plan. You weren't born to blend in. You were born to stand out. When you start understanding your design, you start uncovering your difference, and it's that difference that contains your potential. It's what sets you apart, what makes you powerful. Now here's the issue. We've been so busy trying to conform that we've ignored the call to transform. We mimic trends, copy styles, adopt opinions, and all the while, the blueprint of who we truly are is left untouched. So we end up succeeding in things that don't fulfill us, climbing ladders that are leaning against the wrong walls, and wondering why we feel empty even when we look successful. It's not because you're failing. It's because you're living beneath the truth of who you really are. Your potential is tied to your purpose, and your purpose is found in your design. You don't find it by looking around. You find it by looking within. When you begin to study your wiring, your passions, your convictions, the things that ignite your spirit, that's where the clues begin to appear. The things that make you come alive aren't random. They are fingerprints pointing you toward your assignment. When you ignore those clues, you risk living a life of frustration instead of fulfillment. But when you pursue them, your potential begins to unlock itself, not through force, but through alignment. You were not created to live in confusion. You were not born to wander through life guessing. There is a reason you are here, and once you become aware of that reason, everything else begins to make sense. Clarity produces confidence, and confidence unlocks courage. That's the first step to walking in your true power, covering the original design and refusing to live as anything less than what you were created to be. So if you're going to unlock your true potential, the first thing you must do is stop asking the world who you are and start asking the one who made you. That's when the journey begins. Once you understand that your design reveals your purpose, the next step is to commit to a process. And that, my friend, is where many people lose momentum. We live in a world that celebrates speed, rewards shortcuts, and glorifies instant success. But let me tell you the truth. Potential doesn't unlock through convenience. It's cultivated through consistency. Nothing great is ever developed in a hurry. You don't grow into your true capacity overnight. You evolve into it through discipline, through obedience to the process. You see, every seed holds a tree inside it, but that tree doesn't just appear. It has to go through seasons, some dry, some stormy, some silent, and some full of light. But the seed doesn't complain. It just stays rooted. And while no one sees what's happening beneath the soil, something is breaking open. Growth is happening in the dark. In the same way, there will be seasons in your life when you feel hidden, unseen, or overlooked. Don't despise those seasons. That's where your roots are getting deep. That's where your character is being shaped. That's where your strength is being developed. Potential without process is like having an engine without fuel. It may look powerful, but it's not going anywhere. Some of us want the platform, but aren't willing to embrace the preparation. We want the reward, but not the responsibility. We want the success story, but we don't want to live through the chapters that built it. But it is in the discipline of the process that the greatness inside you gets drawn out. It's in the daily grind, in the quiet yes, in the decision to keep showing up when no one's clapping. That's where transformation begins to take shape. You won't always feel motivated. That's why you must be committed. Motivation is a feeling. Commitment is a decision. You don't wait until you feel like improving to grow. You decide to grow and then align your actions with that decision. Whether it's developing your skills, learning a new mindset, or shedding the habits that are sabotaging your destiny, all of that happens one decision at a time. Your potential is unlocked with each step of obedience. Each time you choose discipline over distraction, progress over procrastination, faith over fear, you're becoming more of who you were born to be. Don't rush what's supposed to be refined. The diamond doesn't fear the pressure, and the gold doesn't resist the fire. It knows what it's becoming, so don't quit in the process. Don't settle for potential that stays buried. Make up your mind that if something great was placed inside you, then you owe it to yourself and to the world to let it rise. Because when you honor the process, you activate the promise. The third key to unlocking your true potential is one we often underestimate: your environment. You cannot grow in an environment that contradicts your purpose. A seed can only thrive in the right soil. It doesn't matter how much potential is in that seed. If the soil is toxic, if there's no light, if there's no water, that seed will never become what it was created to be. In the same way, you can be full of gifts, talent, and vision, but if you're planted in an atmosphere that drains you, devalues you, or distracts you, your potential will suffocate instead of soar. Look around your life. Who are you listening to? Who are you spending time with? Who has access to your thoughts, your emotions, your energy? Sometimes it's not a lack of talent that's holding us back, it's the presence of wrong voices. People who speak fear when you need to hear faith. People who encourage compromise when you're trying to stay committed. People who celebrate your comfort when God is calling you to stretch. Hear me clearly, your future is too valuable to let the wrong crowd define your ceiling. Some of you need to stop asking small-minded people for permission to think big. You're running your dreams by people who have given up on theirs and then wondering why you feel discouraged. It's time to elevate your environment. Surround yourself with people who challenge your thinking, who sharpen your gifts, who hold you accountable to your growth. Not people who flatter your flaws, but those who call you higher. The right environment doesn't just support your vision, it stirs it. And let me tell you this, sometimes changing your environment doesn't mean changing your physical location. It means changing what you allow into your mental space. What are you reading? What are you watching? What are you consuming every day? You can't expect a harvest of focus if you're feeding on distraction. You can't expect peace if your input is saturated with noise. Protect your mind like it's the control room of your future, because it is. Your environment either pulls out your potential or poisons it. That's why some of your greatest breakthroughs won't come from doing more. They'll come from disconnecting from what's draining you. That toxic friendship, that compromising habit, that voice in your life that always brings you down, it's not worth your destiny. You've got too much inside you to stay stuck where you are, so reposition yourself, replant yourself, build an atmosphere that matches your assignment. You'll be amazed at what begins to grow when you finally put yourself in the right soil, because what surrounds you will either suffocate your greatness or help it breathe. One of the most powerful forces that shape your destiny is discipline, and this is where most people lose the battle before it ever begins. We admire potential, we talk about purpose, we dream big dreams, but discipline is the bridge between who you are and who you're called to become. It's not emotional, it's not glamorous, and it doesn't always feel good, but it works. Discipline is the daily decision to choose your future over your feelings. Everybody wants the reward, but very few want the routine. We say we want growth, but growth has a cost. It demands consistency. It asks you to show up even when no one's clapping, to keep going even when the results are invisible, to make the right choices when it would be easier to make the convenient ones. Discipline trains your mind, your body, and your habits to align with your vision, and that's not always fun, but it is always worth it. Some of you are frustrated not because you lack purpose, but because you lack a pattern. You start strong, then stop. You get inspired, then quit when it gets hard, and now you're confusing inconsistency for failure. You're not failing. You're just undisciplined. You're not broken. You're untrained. But here's the good news. Discipline is not something you're born with. It's something you build, and you build it every day in the small decisions, the unseen hours, the quiet commitments. You've got to become the kind of person who can be trusted with what you're praying for. That means putting structure behind your spirit, order behind your passion. You can't just want the platform. You've got to prepare in private. If you can't manage your time, how can you manage influence? If you can't handle daily habits, how will you handle divine assignments? Discipline builds the character that sustains your calling, and understand this. Discipline isn't about punishment. It's about preparation. When an athlete trains, they're not being punished. They're being positioned to win. And some of the things you're being asked to let go of, some of the boundaries you need to establish, are not to restrict you. They're to protect what's valuable inside of you. Discipline doesn't shrink your life, it sharpens it. When you begin to master discipline, your confidence grows, your clarity increases, your pace becomes intentional. You stop waiting for motivation because you've developed muscle. And eventually, what once felt hard becomes your new normal. That's when you begin to live from purpose instead of pressure. So today, if you're serious about unlocking your potential, stop negotiating with your weakness. Stop giving your feelings the final say. Make discipline your daily decision, not because it's easy, but because your future is too important to leave it in the hands of comfort. Your destiny won't respond to desire, it will respond to discipline. There is something powerful about your circle, about the people you allow into your space, into your heart, into your mind. You can have all the talent in the world, but if your relationships are draining you, distracting you, or distorting your identity, you will never rise to your full potential. Some people aren't bad, they're just not built for where you're going, and until you make peace with letting go, you'll stay stuck trying to take everyone with you. But growth requires decisions, and sometimes the decision is, I love you, but I can't carry you anymore. Your circle is either fueling your vision or fighting it. They're either watering your purpose or weakening it. You've got to evaluate, when I leave their presence, do I feel sharper or smaller? Do I feel challenged or compromised? Because energy is contagious, and if you surround yourself with people who settle, complain, gossip, or lack integrity, you'll begin to mirror that spirit, even when it contradicts your core. You're not too good for them. But you are too called to stay there. See, your potential thrives in the right environment. Just like a seed needs good soil to grow, your gifts need the right relationships to flourish. Who you give access to is sacred. You've got to be intentional. That doesn't mean you cut everybody off. It means you know the difference between who's assigned to your journey and who was only meant to be part of your story. Some people were seasonal. And keeping them in a permanent place causes chaos in your momentum. Some of us are trying to be loyal at the expense of our destiny, but loyalty is not the same as alignment. Loyalty says, I won't leave you. Alignment says, we're going in the same direction. You've got to stop confusing guilt with growth. You're not a bad person for outgrowing a friendship, a mindset, a circle. It just means you're maturing. You're discovering that peace is more important than proximity, that purpose is more valuable than popularity, that being understood is not as vital as being obedient. Sometimes unlocking your potential means getting uncomfortable enough to change your surroundings. It means making hard choices and being okay with not being liked. It means understanding that elevation is often lonely, but it's necessary, and the right people will find you in the right season when you're operating from the right identity. So guard your circle, protect your focus, choose people who speak to your purpose, not your ego, who call you higher, not flatter you lower. Your future is far too important to keep company that doesn't believe in where you're headed. Choose wisely, because your circle is a mirror of your standard. There's something divine about discipline, something sacred about consistency. Many people are talented, gifted, anointed even, but they lack the one ingredient that unlocks results, daily discipline. Discipline is not about being perfect. It's about being committed. It's the quiet decision to show up when you don't feel like it, to do what needs to be done even when no one is watching. Because the truth is, potential doesn't respond to inspiration. It responds to discipline. And until you build that inner structure, your outer results will always fluctuate with your emotions. You don't become great by wishing, you become great by working, every day, even when it's boring, even when it's slow, even when it seems like nothing is changing. The unseen hours matter, those early mornings when no one is clapping for you, those late nights when you're grinding through the silence. Those are the moments that shape the version of you the world will eventually respect. But if you only show up when it's convenient, your breakthrough will always stay delayed. Discipline isn't glamorous, but it is transformational. And here's the truth most won't admit. Discipline is the evidence that you truly believe in your future. If you believe you're called to impact, to lead, to build, to elevate, then your habits must reflect that belief. You can't pray for greatness and practice laziness. You can't declare purpose and then delay obedience. Your calendar, your schedule, your habits, they all preach louder than your words. The small things matter. The way you manage your time, the way you control your appetite, the way you follow through. These are the invisible seeds of success. See, discipline is not just about what you do. It's about who you are becoming. Every time you make a decision that aligns with your future instead of your feelings, you are training your character to carry your calling. Because it's one thing to receive the promise. It's another thing to be prepared to handle it. Discipline is preparation in disguise. It's God's way of molding you in the dark so you don't collapse in the spotlight. Some of us keep waiting for motivation to strike. But the mature understand motivation is seasonal, discipline is daily. And the enemy doesn't fear your dream. He fears your discipline because he knows once you become consistent, you become unstoppable. So don't wait to feel it. Don't wait to be in the mood. Don't wait for applause. Build your future in silence. Commit to the process. Stay faithful to the steps. Because discipline is the bridge between the version of you today and the version the world is waiting for tomorrow. Consistency is the gatekeeper of destiny.